As promised, we're going to jump right into these private sessions with the stuff that we know we are dealing with as parents of struggling children. We're going to start with the black sheep, the identified patient. If you've listened to some of my past shows, we have brought this up before, but I can't help but utilize this moment, these sessions, to tell you how critical the concept of the identified patient, the black sheep of the family, how critical changing this paradigm is to a family who is struggling. Now, I'm bringing this up because we just made it through the holidays, right? It's January 22nd today. I think the next holiday, I guess, is Valentine's Day. The kids are back in school, and phew, we got through the holidays. It's a mess and it's stressful. And I mean, we're dealing with everything from our relatives and our parents as parents, our own parents coming in and giving us advice, the kids' grandparents, the struggling kids' grandparents, they're pissed off, because the kid wasn't participating or the kid is struggling to just say thank you or make eye contact or didn't come out of their room or cried when they didn't get their way or had a meltdown or something. And the last thing we might need when we're trying to create a house of holiday festivities and cheer is some brother or sister or parent or cousin telling us what we could be doing differently. And had they lived with us and stayed in our shoes every single day, maybe their input would be more welcome. But a lot of times it's not, because they're not dealing with the everyday thing that we're dealing with, which is this kid that's struggling, lashing out, blowing sideways, whatever you want to call it. So the holidays, quite frankly, can kind of suck. And of course, as parents, we want them to be good for our kids who are struggling. We're feeling frustrated, broke, resentful, dealing with the things that these kids are unleashing on our households. And then we want to bring grandma and grandpa over. We want to do dinner for everybody. Of course we do. This is our family. We're getting tired of being isolated with these kids. So, of course, we stress about the kid acting out. We stress because the kid acts out. We stress because the in-laws and the parents, the cousins and brothers and siblings, sisters, and everybody's got information for us. And they want to give us another podcast that they've listened to or something that they do or whatever. It seems like a perfect time that they're going to just be like, well, what your kid needs to understand is, and it doesn't work. It doesn't help. It doesn't feel supportive. It's ridiculous. This is where we're going to address one of the hard parts. Okay, we're going to talk about your boundaries as a parent with your siblings, because we have and your parents and your in-laws. We have a difficult thing to navigate here: boundaries with in-laws and parents. Because if we become too boundaried, we find ourselves isolated. We find ourselves with no support, and we feel alone in this matter. Let's be clear that the first kind of support that is probably the best kind of support for us as parents of struggling children or young adults is a group of people that we don't know, that we can go and say and be whomever. We don't have to protect other people's egos. We don't have to go in and defend our answers to family members who have always had beef with the way we do things. Or maybe we struggled when we were all younger together. Or our own parents screwed us up and now they're telling us how to raise our own kids. Blah, blah, blah. This is why we need a support group of outsiders who have been on the inside of the struggle that we're having. That's a healthy boundary. Now, the second thing about talking to our family members about what's going on is it really does reinforce the black sheep nature of our child that's struggling. And I want you to think about it like this, that our child is going through some crap and we're going through it with them. And we've been trying things, we've had our fights, we've given consequences. Sometimes we've let them off the hook, sometimes we've enabled them. Sometimes, we're doing whatever we can and we're doing whatever we feel we need to be able to do so that we can get through the day. What a lot of people don't realize when they're hearing us vent and bitch, complain and commiserate about our own children is there are sometimes we're just trying to get through the day and we are just trying to keep our kids alive. Do you realize that? Do you realize that a lot of the parents that I work with, the type of stuff that you're going through, if you're listening to these episodes and this show and the regular podcast, so sometimes we're just trying to keep our kid alive. And now is when you want to give me advice about how I should do things differently. Like, it's going to fall on survival ears. I won't say deaf ears, but I'm going to say survival ears. We're in survival parenting mode. And then we go to our mom, or our dad, our in-laws, our brothers and sisters, a distant cousin. We start talking about what we're going through. And you know what? Maybe on the phone they're a great help. Maybe they're not. Who knows? But we're talking about it. We're venting. Yeah, my kid's been struggling at school. They got kicked out the other day. No, yeah, they've got busted smoking weed and found some pills in their locker and stuff like that. I think it's in the old Viking tradition that they say, if one person knows, it's a secret. If two people know, it can be kept a secret. But if three people know, the village knows. Now, that's true with families. We know this. We really do. So this is where the black sheep starts to come into play. Because we're not the only ones treating our teenager, our little kid, our young adult like the black sheep of the family. So's our cousin. So's our sister. So's our mom and dad. So are our in-laws. And it makes sense to recognize that some of the younger siblings are saying, what's wrong with Johnny? And the parents are like, well, Johnny's really having a hard time and everything. So when we go over, we're just going to be extra special nice and cooperative and make sure you help out a lot. I have a family member with dementia, and the psychiatrist told everybody in the family, it was brilliant. The psychiatrist told everybody in the family, when you show up, let go of the worried face, especially for the males. Let go of the worried face. Don't walk in and, are you okay? How are you doing? That worried face is a psychological trigger for the stress to begin in the relationship. And see, now that grandma knows and in-laws know and brother and sister cousin knows, the energy around our struggling child has just increased. And so they're not just the black sheep. And I've been using another term that I want to explain now, because they're not just the black sheep. They're the ones who's standing out. They're acting out. They're acting inwards. They're isolating in the room. They're dealing with depression. Blah, 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 blah. And everybody's talking about our kid. And then when everybody shows up to our house, and maybe our kid's actually in a good space, just the energy of the room can take them out. Because everybody's tiptoeing. Everybody's walking on eggshells around, and this is where the other term comes in, the identified patient. This is what we call the family member in the industry who's been identified as the one with the problem. So when we get the phone call in the industry, when in treatment industry, when you call and you're saying, yeah, my 17-year-old son, they're really struggling and they got kicked out of school for pot and blah, blah, blah. In our notes, we are writing the letters IP for identified patient. Here's the thing that we also in the industry know to be a very simple truth. And this one's hard to hear, parents. And I told you, I'm not going to BS you on these episodes. These are your personal, private, let's get down and dirty with it conversations. The whole identified patient of a family concept is bullshit. Not that it's not real, because it's very real. It's real in that everybody has chosen who the patient of the family is. But in the industry, we look at this person, and if it's a good program, they look at this person as very simply speaking the family's language out loud. Family systems. That's a concept you need to understand. This is a concept you need to comprehend. Family systems. Your child is playing their part in the system. This is not the tell me about your mother part of therapy, although it starts to reveal the system that's in play. Look, it is very, very rare for a child to act out so intensely that there's not a systemic issue taking place. There's not a social dynamic that's causing a breakdown that the child is reacting to. The child is not the source of the problem. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that the family is the source of the problem. And what really successful families do is focus on their own behaviors. Even if it's just the worried face. Even if it's just that, oh God, I got to go home and I got to talk to my daughter. She didn't go to school today. She's just probably just sat in there watching YouTube videos all day. She hasn't been to school a week. Is she even going to pass? I mean, the teachers are calling me. And your eyebrows are now stuck to the top of your forehead, and your forehead has wrinkles today it didn't have 2 days ago because you are stressed out and you walk in the house that way. And the identified patient, the black sheep, feels it, knows it, picks up on it, and probably might be isolating because they don't want to deal with it. And you might be relieved because you don't want to deal with it either. The identified patient, the black sheep of the family, is not the problem during the holidays. And let's talk about some holiday skills, okay, for the next holiday that's coming up in your life. Let's talk about some very basic skills of holiday planning. First of all, pick the battles that you are going to actually fight. Pick them. Pick them ahead of time and do not fight the other ones. Do not react to the other ones. Pick the big ones. All right? If you smell weed coming from the kid's room and that's where you're going to die on, that's the hill you're going to die on, then by God, go die on that hill. But if it's not worth it and you just need to get through this Thanksgiving dinner with your parents and you smell weed coming from the kid's room, let it go. Because here's the good point. Here's the amazing point, is that that moment is probably not going to be the moment that weed suddenly takes a child's life. Okay? Now, that's just one example because all the what ifs. What if they're on this drug? What if they run away? What if they... Well, this is where, as parents of struggling children, you go through that entire list and you come up with the things that could actually happen. And you write it down on a list and you put a check mark by the things that you're going to actually deal with. Now, what if this list changes in the moment, Aaron? Fine, let it change. It's your moment. It's your house. Your family's there. Maybe you let something go that you were going to die, that hill you were going to die on, but now you surrender the hill. It doesn't matter. That's not the success and failure point. You want to know what the real success and failure point with your kids are? Are you here? Are you seeking more support and help? Then you're winning. Is your kid alive? Maybe just by the skin of their teeth? Then you're winning. Because we know with this type of struggle, the intensity of these struggles with depression, anxiety, behavior issues, mental health, addiction, we might be dealing with a life and death issue. And if you're not, you're winning. If you survived yesterday, you're winning. If today's going okay, you're winning. If it's not, if it's going to hell in a handbasket and you're listening to this show, you're winning. because you're getting the support. This is how we have to change where the bar is set, not just on holidays, but on the everyday winning and losing. And yes, it's exhausting. And no, there's no relief from it. And there's a million magic bullets, and not one of them may work, and one of them might. And so you keep trying. And if you're still trying, you're winning. That's how this work goes, folks. That's how this type of parenting situation goes. And then you get some smart aleck podcaster who's like, you got to sleep well and take care of yourself first. Have you tried sleeping when your kids run away? When girls would run away from our facility, I couldn't sleep. When boys would run away, I'd be like, oh, you idiots, because I knew exactly what the boys were going to do. They're going to go rob something from Safeway, or they're going to rob something from a gas station, and they would get caught and the police would bring them back. Girls, our facility was on a highway. And when girls hitchhiked into the town that was 4 miles away, that was 4 miles. That was 4 miles too far to hitchhike. When girls ran away from the facility, I didn't sleep. But then you've got somebody who says, well, you have to sleep. Otherwise, you're not going to be your best parent tomorrow. Okay. You know what? Today, maybe I'm not going to be my best parent. Maybe today, instead of parenting, I'm going to go to a Al-Anon meeting. Or today, I'm going to not just listen to Aaron Huey blabber on about dealing with my kid, but I'm going to listen to 3 other shows, or I'm going to start listening to an audio book. When you have an identified patient and you have family members who want to support, and of course they want to support, one of the best things you can do for the relationship, not just between you and this family member, but you and your kid who's struggling, is set a boundary. Hey, Mom, I really love you, and I know you're worried about your grandkid. But right now, I'm having trouble taking in feedback and support. And I know you have nothing but love and a desire to help me, but I can't hear it right now. I can't hear it. So I need you to let me come to you, okay? Thank you so much for trying to help. And there may be other things you want to say. Do you have any idea how you parented me? But in this moment, I heard one of my guests on the show say this. In this moment when your child or your parent is acting like a 3-year-old, someone in the room has to be the 4-year-old. And it's got to be you. It's got to be you as the parent of this struggling kid, as the one who's getting advice, support, input, help. You've got to be the 4-year-old in the room because they're the 2-year-old. They're the 3-year-old. Your mom, your dad. Well, I'm just trying to help. You are. I know that. It's not you. It's me. I just can't hear it right now. So I'm going to go to a yoga class. I'm going to go ahead and hang up and go for a walk. I just need to go drink another glass of water. Whatever you've got to do to establish the boundary. And I told you a better place to go than your family for support. And that's a room full of strangers who know exactly what the hell you're dealing with. Those Al-Anon meetings, autism support groups, they're there, folks. And if they're not there, if you can't find one in your community, have the frickin' courage to start one. Because everybody needs help. Everybody needs help. I have told this story so many times, and if you've not heard it in one of my episodes, I'm going to tell it again because I love storytelling. I had 2 parents in the front row of one of my parenting workshops. And this is when we were running the treatment center. I had about 36 parents in the room. Exes, in-laws, everybody. Everybody's participating. And this dad raises his hand and he was like, we're hearing a lot of really good information here, but none of it is really applying to us because we've just got such a unique situation. And I go, well, what's going on? And he says, well, our daughter, she called Child Protective Services and made a false report that I abused her. and we've been through the investigation, and it was devastating. And I'm having a really hard time letting go and forgiving her. I love her, but right now I don't like her. I mean, gut punch, folks. Like, you get it. And so I'm listening to this. I'm listening to this parent talk. And I say, how many of you have had your children contact Child Protective Services on you and make a false report? 6 other hands in the room went up. And I looked at the parents in the front row, and they sheepishly had their hand on, and they were looking at me. And I said, don't look at me, turn around and look. And they looked, and they saw the 6 other people in the room with their hands up. And I said, now, how many of you have had your kids steal your car? Every single hand in the room went up. The problem with having an identified patient, the problem with having the black sheep in the family, the problem with having your in-laws come over for Thanksgiving and everybody walk on eggshells around your kid who's depressed, dealing with a brain chemistry issue. Yeah, they're failing math class. You bet they play way too many video games. But the real problem is they don't understand. That's the real problem. You don't have the type of support in your family that you may need. And look, I understand some of you might. Some of you might. But I also need you to understand that even if your sister's going through the same exact thing, she is not your therapist and you are not hers. I have had family members with children who are struggling, and I had to draw the boundary and say, I can't be the coach, I'm the uncle. And that's part of this. So am I saying that part of surviving the holidays is to not take the crap that you're dealing with to your family? Yeah, I am. Not at the expense of isolation, though. It was the first thing I said, the middle thing I said, and will be the last thing I said. Join a friggin' support group because you need help and you'll be winning. The holidays are difficult enough than having everybody show up with their worried face. It's okay if you think the people can handle it for you to call people and say, look, I know my kiddo's going through some hard times. I'd prefer you just act like everything's normal. Because I'm trying to just take my house back. You don't have to explain it all to them. You can if you want. Family and holidays, this is a time for celebration and support. Your kid may not participate. You have to decide if the embarrassment, the frustration, the sadness that you have about your kid not participating, whether that's greater than the relief. Maybe if your kid just stays in their room, watches videos, and you check on them, bring them a plate of turkey and mashers, it might be more of a relief. And you can just have a good time. And if someone brings it up, well, where's little Johnny? And you feel that whole table freeze. You smile, you take a deep breath, and you say, he's in his room watching YouTube videos. Having an identified patient, a black sheep of the family. Folks, that's not a real concept. It's a term. And we're giving all the blame and power to one person, a child, a teenager, some young adult who's still acting like a childish teenager. That's too much power for any one family member to have. So don't give it to them. Take it back. Take it on yourself. Model how you want everybody else in the room to be, and good luck. But let go of the idea that the struggle your family is having is rooted to one person. It's not. And the truth of the matter is, you know this. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. And that's what I love about my audience for Beyond Risk and Back, the families that I had go through our treatment center, and you being here, being so supportive of the show. Say, you know better. And that's why you're here. That's why you're doing the extra work. Well, that's it for today's rant. We will approach another topic on the next time. Again, thank you so much for the support. Check out the merch. Make sure you take care of yourself first. And here on these episodes, instead of doing the regular, take care of yourself first, your adult relationship second, your children third, because that's how we take care of our children in the best possible way. I'm going to say something different. And we're going to remind each other every episode here of the 5 things we need to focus on to take our house back, to take our lives back, and to get our children back. Number 1, sleep. Sleep better. Number 2, drink more water. Number 3, eat nutritious food. And if it ain't organic, make sure you're cooking it. Number 4, move your body. Sitting is the new smoking. And number 5, breathe on purpose. Sleeping, eating nutritious food, drinking more water, moving your body, breathing on purpose. Those are our 5 skills for us today. Do one of those things on purpose for yourself, to take your life back, to take your house back, and to get your kid back. I'll see you next time on the Brad Private Sessions.